Hello everybody, my name is Lee Bamber, I am the CEO of the Game Creators, but more importantly, I am a coder and a game engine developer, designer, what have you. And today I'm going to talk about GameGuru Max is internal development. But it's going to be a little bit different this time. For what it's different from, please check out the previous 21 live broadcasts that are available on our YouTube channel. But today, broadcast number 22, I'm going to do something a little bit different because there's been a lot of forum posts that we've been posting recently asking for your advice. That is to say, we have some ideas of what we want to do, but we just wanted to bounce those ideas off the community. Some of you have been with us for decades, just to see if our thinking is going in the right direction or if there's any large objections that we haven't considered. Specifically around the areas of game design itself and the actually making of the game and all the things that you're going to need in order to make your own games. So I'm not going to show you any progress. There has been progress. I was tempted to share with you the code in the latest repo. And even though it's something you can look at, oh wow, I didn't see this, but I want to show you the best version of it. So I'm going to collect it all up and show you all that next Wednesday. So there's an incentive for you to go and check in, make time in your schedule to show up at 4 p.m. GMT to learn about what's going on in the interface, because it's not just about buttons anymore, it's gone a little step further. I'm excited to talk about that, but I'm going to talk about it next week. This time it's really just sort of ratifies some of the things we've been talking about during our design phase. As some of you may know, we're basically going at the user interface with a hatchet and making sure that what we end up with is really capable, not just for us, for the existing users who are already familiar with GameGuru, but someone who enters the arena for the first time and wants to make a game and doesn't want to script and doesn't want to spend months and months and months creating art. They kind of just want to make the game, where they make that process as easy as possible. So we created 4 forum threads to talk about specific things. Just to introduce them very quickly, because I won't be reading. This will be a very boring live broadcast if I just sit there reading all the forum posts one by one. I just want to introduce them to you, so you can then go and check them out later after this live broadcast and make your comments, or maybe make your comments based on what we've been talking about today. And I want to leave a little bit more time in the questions and answers section at the end of this live broadcast so you can learn what we're thinking, what I'm thinking, and then you can also make your comments in this section. But before I do that, I just want to check that the sound is okay. I'm not going to ask the question, can you hear me? Because this is now... audio's working, but it's a bit loud. Now that's just me. I'm just being very shouty today. So I'll try and talk in a normal voice. How's that? So thanks for confirming the audio is working. And as I said, I'm not going to read all the posts. I'm just going to scroll through to look for all the pretty pictures, because everyone likes pretty pictures. So as you can see, there was 2 things I was asking for in this forum thread. Please send me links and screenshots and videos of games, RPG, role-playing games, that have already made in GameGuru. That use GameGuru Classic and they created the game, either published on Steam or published elsewhere, or just a private project. And just post them here, just so we can get some inspiration to find out what things you feel are important when you're making an RPG game. Things that are important, things that are critical, things that are not so. And, you know, there's a lot of really great ideas. And rest assured, we've already extracted a large quantity of your observations and has formed part of our design process. So that's the RPG one. We haven't done one for shooter because primarily, even before GameGuru Classic was born, FPS Creator was predominantly a shooter game engine, and GameGuru was born out of FPS Creator. So we're pretty savvy in knowing what you kind of need for a first-person shooter game, so we haven't created a thread for that. But if you feel that we should have one, so you can make your comments there, that's fine. But I think we've got a good handle on shooter. What we didn't have a handle on is how deep you wanted to go with RPG, and similarly, how deep you wanted to go in the puzzle genre. Now, obviously, there's a lot of Venn diagram merging between these different game types, but we can honestly say there is a very specific kind of game very popular in the VR space, where it's all about solving puzzles. You're in a room and you have to get to the next room. It's not about a story, and it's not about shooting anybody. It's just about figuring out cerebrally how to get to the next room, how to get across the gorge, how to get up the tower, things like that. And so it's created a forum thread just to discuss what kind of features you would need in order to add to your game to create those kind of game types. And we've already seen some great examples and some ideas. This, if anyone hasn't played Half-Life, welcome to computing. For everybody else, we're all familiar with the standard trope Half-Life mechanisms like levers, gravity, weights, seesaws, and of course the weight lift here. But please keep them coming. The more inspirational material we have from this thread, then the more robust we can make the game maker, so you can create more of those scenarios. But we already have a bucket full, so don't worry if you don't have any ideas. We have plenty. The third thread that I wanted to introduce to you, so you can contribute to it after this live broadcast, is the discussion of the character creator. What do you think of it right now? Anyone who's got the pre-order will have a build where they can use the latest version of our character creator, which is a substantial improvement from the one you found in GameGuru Classic. But of course it doesn't go all the way. And the question was, should it go all the way? Now, we're resistant to taking it all the way because it's almost like a product in itself. And if you want to know what I'm talking about, check out a product called Character Creator 3. Just type that on Google, check that out. That's a whole product, and all it does is create characters. So that's what I mean by going all the way. And I don't think we're in the business of recreating that technology. It would take a huge team. But check out what we've got so far with our current character creator. We've already got some ideas on how we can improve that, but I'd like to hear your thoughts on things like character creator that you use within the software and bringing in characters from the outside that you import. And I've got a little link here to a website called Sketchfab, which is the typical idea, and I've already had a couple of talks with these guys, an excellent group of guys. They've been around for quite a while, and I remember I was talking with them years ago actually about integrating the format, which was at the time GLTF. So the idea is if you see a character on here, then you'll just be able to import it right into the product through the GLTF format, which we're already planning to do, but we're looking for even closer ties. But is this where you want to get your characters from? Or is there some other place you want to get your characters from? If so, make comments in this forum thread. And finally, the discussion about the structure editor, what used to be called the EBE, that long time ago was called the segment editor. And where should we take that? And we posed this question a couple of days ago, and it seems a resoundingly one-sided opinion that it should either be removed or put into the background, but by no means carry on that vein. I think the closest we ever got was, well, just clean it up a little bit and leave it as it is. But the bottom line is hardly anybody uses it. They use it for a bit and then they stop using it, or they never use it in the first place, don't even know that it exists. And anything that you do create, I mean, the screenshot right at the top, this is quite a commended screenshot. It's like, wow, yeah, buildings with roofs and partially constructed. It looks great from this distance. And I'm sure the author graphics would admit, if you get really close, everyone will realise it's all made out of blocks. Wouldn't it have been nice if it could be made out of, slopes, things that don't just have right angles? And so that's the basic problem with the current structure editor. You can only make it out of blocks. And all the artists of the community saying, well, it's never going to be what I want. I'll just go somewhere else and do it. And so that's basically the bottom line. Do we just accept defeat and say, look, if you're going to want decent buildings and structures, you're invariably going to go out into the world, find those buildings and structures and bring them in. And so GameGuru Max's job might be to make sure that when you do find them and bring them in, that they work. So they're relatively low poly, the collision's right, the materials are right, you can hang doors and windows on them, etc. And so that becomes our responsibility. Not to add a module which can create any building or structure in the universe, but just to let you find that from wherever. Could be SketchUp, could be from somewhere else. Then bring it in, and then GameGuru Max's job is to make sure that it works as a building. And you know, if the building has an interior, then you can go inside. So if you want to talk about that and you have strong opinions on that, certainly go to this forum thread and check it out. I would say you'll find links in the description below, but I might forget to do that. Best thing to do is just look for these titles: RPG, Puzzler, Characters in Animation, and the New Structure Editor in the main product thread of the GameGuru forums, and you'll find it, and you'll be able to contribute. So without further ado, and I did promise that I would actually give some time towards answering questions around this subject. Of course, you can ask any question, and I'm happy to answer it. But if you do have any questions related to these 4 subjects, by all means ask away. Now, I do ask that you put a question mark at the end of your comment, only so I can then skip through nice and quick. If we continue to do these live broadcasts into the years, I will probably get a little bit more upmarket and have a moderator or someone who will help me get all the questions in a row. So I don't have to read through the live broadcast. I literally have someone to help me just give me the next question, etc. But at the moment, it's just me on my Todd, on my own. So I'm going to go through and look for a question mark. It's great that everyone can hear me. Otherwise, that was a very interesting silent 13 minutes with lots of scrolling forum posts. Here we go. Is this out yet? I'm a gold member pledger. A gold member pledger. I presume you refer to the FPS Creator Reloaded gold pledger, which was about 6 or was it 7 years ago? I'm not sure how far that pledge extends. If you mean you're a pre-order user for GameGuru Max, we've left the release date as an open release, which means we're not setting a arbitrary date at which time we'll release whatever it is we've got. We're going to work on each feature of the software until we think it's rock solid and golden, and then we'll let you know when we're going to release it. It's a bit cruel if you was anticipating to have a completely finished product by a certain amount of time. And as always, I've said, quite happy to issue a refund on pre-orders that, you know, you're not satisfied that you didn't get it on a particular time. We're okay to do that. And you're absolutely encouraged to continue watching the live broadcasts and the progress and all the materials we release. And we'll be doing a free version, a free demo version on release as well, so you can try it before you buy it. But certainly thank you to everyone who is pre-ordering, because it does help us continue the development and produce the product we've always wanted to create, which is a nice stopgap between being a full-on programmer where you have to script everything and those simple tools where all your games look the same. GameGuru Classic potentially being one of them, but this should fill the gap between those two extremes where you don't have to script but your games look truly unique. Obviously, if you bring in lots of your own assets and spend some time in level design and create a good story, etc. So looking for another question, some comments. Will multiplayer be TDM only? I can't answer that question because my acronym's are not great, but I'll certainly answer it in the forum thread after this live broadcast. I will answer all the questions and post them on the GameGuru forum so you can read all the answers in a little bit more detail than my current ramblings. Someone's predicting that we'll be releasing in 15 years. I'm pretty sure it won't take me that long, but yes, thanks for your estimate. I suppose it's better than nothing. I can probably promise it won't take more than 15 years, if that's any help. So here's a question. Thank you. This is from Easy Game Development Tools. Is Ravy involved in the development of Max? No, Ravy is working on many cool things. It's actually working on a game at the moment. It's something to do with robots. I've seen a couple of quick videos. It looks absolutely a riot. So you should certainly check that out once it hit. I'd probably hit Steam or something like that, or maybe the Unreal Store. So I'm looking forward to seeing what's going on that end as well. But no, Ravy's not directly involved in the GameGuru Max development at this time. Another question, when will the next beta be released? There is no fixed date on the release of the next beta. We are getting closer to it. We've just about finished the auto updater now. I'm going to play around and adding that to the installer, get all that tested. Want to make sure that the UI is in a state where if there is a feature we haven't added and connected up to a piece of UI, you get a prompt to tell you it is not yet available. So you don't start trying to use a thing that actually hasn't got any back-end code attached to it. So we're making sure that the new version makes sense to you. And I think once we're at that point, we've also been fixing a couple of bugs that you reported, so thanks for those reports. And so that build will contain that. As to when, I think we all agree it makes perfect sense to get you a build before I go off on my Christmas holidays. So that's all I'll say. So you're probably going to get it in December, but I can't be any more accurate than that. But we are working on it right now, if that's any help. Scrolling down to the next question. This is from Make My TV. Will GameGuru Max support RTX? No. It won't support the real-time rendering techniques that NVIDIA have been pushing at the moment. Even though the Wicked engine does support real-time stuff, it does require a beefy graphics card. And we have been saying all along we would like to aim for a card around the GTX 960 mark, which doesn't allow, at least doesn't allow fast and game speed RTX. We're not abandoning the idea of it. I think it's great technology. You know, the world of real-time raycast style rendering of your game environments for super realistic visuals, awesome. But until we all have big juicy graphics cards, we're going to have to sort of put that on the shelf and maybe come back to it in a year or 3. Got another question on the release date. See previous verbal. Askat Sulanbayev. Will the engine support various VR headset buttons? Yeah, we are supporting OpenXR, which of course means OpenXR is a Chronos technology that in turn allows us to support HTC Vive, Oculus, the Steam Index, the Windows Mixed Reality headsets, all them good things. All you need is a working runtime driver for the aforementioned headsets. And as to when you mean buttons, I think you mean the VR controller, not the headset. So yes, the VR controllers all vary between those manufacturers, but we'll have a common mapping, which means the games you create will work on any of those controllers that we support. So all good news there. I'm looking for another question. Let's try and find someone who hasn't got a question answered yet. This is from Lustian Mapping. Sorry if I got that name wrong. I have a question. Can with GameGuru Classic export and make a third-person game and with Max? No. You can with Max. You can drop in a character onto a start marker and you're instantly third person. The basic problem is third person needs a lot of love and attention, and we just didn't give it that. So it's quite basic third person control. And all of the luminaries in our community took the script and said, right, well, we'll do our own version of third person and took it a stage further. But we felt that for GameGuru Max, we wanted to focus, which meant reducing the things we had to worry about, and so the few things that remained we could give it super high attention, which means high quality. So we are dropping third person from GameGuru Max just so we can focus on first person, and that's first person non-VR and VR. Down the road, like I said in a previous conversation, 90% of the DNA of GameGuru Max could easily furnish you with a third person experience. But like I said, we want to do it properly. When we do it all guns are blazing, and we make sure we don't leave until we have a solid third-person offering, not something that's half-baked. So that's the philosophy a bit behind that decision, and I think it's the right one. I'm looking for another answer from someone who hasn't asked a question before. This is from Skull Kid Gaming. Is it just me, or does the team of Fear Engine have members? Then GameGuru ? And the engine is dead. 7 ? I'm not sure what the Fear Engine is, but I can pretty much assure you that there are no members of the GameGuru Max development team who are also members of this Fear Engine team. At least not that I know of. Looking for a question from somebody who's not answered yet. I think that's a good and fair way of doing it. Okay, here's a question from Martin Oliver. Question: why can't we have the segment editor back? We don't have indoor creation system. Why focus only on outdoor? It was a process of evolution. There's a lot of answers to that very simple question. We did only start off indoors. Back in FPS creator days, all you could really do was indoors. And now we've ended up where it's predominantly outdoors because we wanted to do outdoors. Maybe it's a case of you can't have one and the other, you can only have one or the other. But as I said before, tackling the idea of doing a full-blown building or structure editor is tantamount to creating almost a new product. But we're leaving this decision open. If you go to the new structure editor thread and post your grievances, then it will all be discussed because we've not made a final decision on it yet. But I do think making buildings out of blocks is probably not the right way. And someone else has postulated, why can't you just use the level editor and just assemble walls and doors and ceilings and things just with the regular building tools? And then all you need is the pieces of the building and connect them together, which, you know, to some degree has already been the case for creating more interesting building environments. But as to the simpler question, bring back the segment editor. Yeah, I had a soft spot for the segment editor, but I'm not getting a lot of support internally for that idea, so I don't think it has a lot of legs right now. But if you want to put your foot down with a firm hand and say yes, segment editor, then please use this thread and make it very clear to me, thus the rest of the team, that we absolutely have to have something like that built into the software instead of sending you all outside to find another building editor outside of GameGuru Max. So it's an absolutely fair question to ask. Looking for a question. Here's one. Not a question mark on it, but I recognise a new user. Bounciest Sky 152. Will there ever be any support at all for any type of ray tracing? I predict yes in the future, but not for version 1. It will come under the guise of the RTX technology, which is already available in the Wicked engine and can be exposed to GameGuru Max in the future. It's more political. It's really just waiting for enough advanced graphics card to become commonplace so RTX can be running at decent speeds on, say, a 5-year-old graphics card. It's that sort of decision rather than whether we can or can't do it. Looking for a question. Sorry if I do skip, but I'm not finding the question marks every time, so I usually scroll down. Here's one. This is from a 3D artist. What kind of model imports will be available in the new software we are doing directly, but it's not available in Blender, only Fix and Obj? I presume you mean FBX and Obj. Well, though, you've just hit the nail on the head. Yes, FBX, OBJ, yes. GLTF, yes. A couple of the formats that we like the sound of. So all the big ones you'd be used to. Nothing too proprietary, but I think OBJ and FBX and GLTF are pretty common standards now. We're using something called ASIMP, Asset Importer, to start the process of importing that file. And then it's just a case of us to take that data and make sure that it's fully compatible with GameGuru Max. So those are sort of the main headline model formats you can expect to import with ease with GameGuru Max. So not too much messing about. We are keeping DirectX file format only for legacy purposes. We actually have the X file loader as a separate little binary now. So X file loading is not inside the core GameGuru Max software. We have a little side program which takes X and converts it to DBO, which is our proprietary format, and it's the DBO file that GameGuru Max loads. So we are slowly wriggling our way up from the DirectX file format. You'll be pleased to hear. Took us long enough. I'm going to pick one more question because I just checked the clock and we are less than 5 minutes before that dreaded bell of 30 minutes gone, and no one listens to any YouTube video that's over 30 minutes long. So I'll do 2 more questions. This is one from D32 Productions. Will you consider making modular pieces for a building editor? On which building generator question? Will that mean we can make our own parts and snap them together? Yeah, as previously mentioned, it's a great technique, providing you're happy with the way the level editor's controls work and snapping objects together. It is just a case of finding your building parts and clicking them together. If the question is, are we going to provide an infinite supply of building parts? Probably not. In the past, we've provided tens of thousands of assets and it still wasn't enough, and the quality it was never there. So we are going to encourage people to go out and find these building parts, and we're certainly going to work with our DLC and our artist partners and friends to create these for the community and sort of guide them as to the best way they should be brought in, like in terms of polygon count and texture sizes and how they might snap together. But there is some great plan. There is no great plan to produce a DLC with 50,000 building parts for any kind of imaginable building. That would just be a massive task. And I don't think it's one we want to take on at the moment. So we're looking for one new user who hasn't had a question answered yet, and then it may not be the one that's next, but it's the one I find because I've just lost my scroll position. Yep, you've had your question answered, you've had yours, you've had yours, you've had yours. I'm struggling to find... Here we go. Yes, here's from Yaboygerg. Is there any way in the structure editor to make things look damaged? Roofs, walls and floors with holes, physical wear and tear. Yes, you can get a wall and then delete some of its blocks. And so your hole will look like a hole made in Minecraft. And that's it. That's how you make a damaged wall. There isn't much else you can do. You can certainly choose your own textures. And the textures might have scorch marks and damage and things like that. But it's only one texture. You can't have a brick and then put scorch on top of it. That would be two textures. So you can already see the limitations of this, the structure editor and what you can actually do with it at the end of the day. Which is why we've opened up this conversation with the new structure editor thread to see, you know, is it worth persevering or is there other alternatives out there? So thanks for all your questions. I'm sorry I didn't get to show you any actual code, which I always like to do, but I'm saving it up and I'm going to give you a double dose next Wednesday. So that's Wednesday at 4 PM GMT. Be there or be square. I hope you enjoyed it today, but from me and from my brain, I shall say goodbye and enjoy the rest of the week. Bye-bye.